Hello, everyone. This is Joaquin, and this is Domingo.
Hi everyone, how are you?
Thanks for stopping by. We just wanted to connect in a very informal way. I hope wherever you are, you're having a great time. If you're not, I'm so sorry, but you can. It's a choice, remember, and you always have that choice within you. Today we're with this amazing human being called Domingo, which means Sunday, and we're in a beautiful Sunday. About to have a Sunday. There's an ice cream shop here in the Gables that's very good. I recommend Coral Gables Liberty Cafe. Anyways, we're here just to relate to you guys in any way, shape, or form. This is just a way to connect, to show you guys that we're all one. We're experiencing different things, but we're all one. And I would like for Domingo to share a little bit about him. Would you like to share just a little bit about your life?
Yeah, well, actually, my name comes from Latin, called Domini, and it means of the Lord. And Domingo is actually the same day as Sunday, like my name, and it's the day of the Lord, right? And I believe that, if in my case about my story, I come from a very traditional background, a very, from Catholic roots. And I think that it brings a lot of, it brings some order to our faith. But we need to open, I realized recently how to connect with the world and understand that beyond what we can see and beyond of all of our senses, there's actually a spiritual world waiting for all of us, okay? And our relationship with God and with infinity, right, starts with ourselves, and it's not something that we have to search outside.
Yeah, all those dimensions are within us, and we're incredibly lucky through our lives' experiences that we're tapping into those dimensions, and we'll continue to deepen our search to tap into more dimensions. So we are multidimensional beings. But this is, other than sharing information about dimensions, there's a pretty wild story I want Domingo to tell you guys about his experience with COVID. Yes, he almost passed away. He was this close. In fact, he literally transcended onto other realms and came back. So he's one of many human beings that have done that have had the grace to actually part this life and have the chance to come back and try it again with a different eyes, with a different heart, with a different vibration. And it's part of what he would like to share. So I don't know if you would like to share briefly what happened.
Yeah, and one of the things is you asked me about my story and who I am, and I think that's something. I mean, I can tell you my background, I can tell you what I studied, I can tell you where I came from, where I was born, I can tell you about my family.
He's an amazing musician, by the way.
I'm a singer too. I love singing. I can tell you a lot of these things, but I think it's a very hard question to answer. Who am I? Where do I come from? Who is Domingo? And it's a question that we should all ask ourselves. So that's why I didn't want to answer 100% based on that, because at the end, through this process and going through COVID, right, I learned first that it's not a very predictable disease. It is not. We want to understand the percentages, the rates of survival. We want to make all of these things as something that is a fact, okay? And it's not. In my case, I contracted COVID in a very mysterious way. I'm not sure how we got it. All of my family, my wife, my in-laws, and myself. And And that's one of the things that makes this disease so contagious and strange. At the same time, I come from South America. I was born and raised in Venezuela, where we have a bunch of viruses and stuff, and I experienced a lot of a multi-symptom of virus of symptoms, multiple symptoms, and it made this virus, in my perspective, in my experience, something very strange. But at the same time, I was outside of all of the high risk percentage rates, right? I'm in my 30s. I'm young. I like exercising. I used to do a lot of triathlons and marathons and stuff. And the things that we were monitoring were not indicative that I was gonna be through a crisis. Okay. What I mean by this is my oxygen levels were at 95, 97, 94, the lowest probably. But COVID is, like I'm telling you, very mysterious. In this case, from medical perspective, it led to a dehydration, and it also led to something called encephalitis, which is an inflammation of the brain.
Your brain is literally blowing up like a
Correct.
balloon.
Correct. And the weird thing about it is I had very mild symptoms of it. Okay, I felt like it was actually during Easter that all my symptoms exploded after day 10, which is where you're supposed to be on the safe zone, right? So I felt like there was this pain around my head, right? Like I'm guessing un ardor. How do you say that?
So tremendous pain, similar to some sort of
Like a scrap,
Like a scrape.
like scraping around my head, right? That was the only symptom, and it wasn't like super. It was kind of mild. But through this process, right? There was a day where I was out of all the symptoms, 100%. I was feeling so great and grateful to be alive, and it was kind of like a post-traumatic stress, because all these multi-symptoms, including high fever, I started, shivering. I had
hallucinogen moments.
yeah, I had, but I had a lot of diarrhea. All of these things happened right in a matter of four days, and then the fifth day I was feeling perfectly fine.
It's sort of like a purge of some kind.
Yeah.
And when you say like scraped, do you remember how like your third eye felt? Did it at some point feel like it was resetting?
I don't know. I think in my case, I'm not sure. I felt it more like the spines of the crown of Christ. That's how it felt all around my head, right? And I told my wife about it.
Interesting.
But then I was feeling really good that fifth day. But that's when everything started. I was having a conversation with my wife, and we were just talking about when we were kids, and I started having all these memories when I was 3 or 4 years old. I don't know how they come to be alive, but I was having all of these memories, and I was having a very good connection with my wife. But in that process, everything started to change. I started to hear a very deep voice within me telling me that I had to let go, telling me that I needed to have faith, and that everything was gonna be fine. And I started losing consciousness, right? I started losing consciousness, and based from my wife's perspective, I was probably acting a little bit erratic, right? I was screaming, I was looking at things that I still don't remember, actually. I'm not sure if I was looking at the afterlife or the things that or some of my actions that were not that graceful, right? I'm still trying to understand what happened there. But in that process, 911 came, and that's when I started remembering again. Probably after like 20 minutes.
The emergency paramedics came to try to
help me,
right?
And that's when I also saw a little bit of what's not really good with the system, right? Their first approach, it was probably that I was being violent towards my wife, or that that I had some kind of hallucinogenic drugs or something, right? Which was not the case. It was not. So their attitude towards me was more of negligence and more of stand up, or we're gonna call the police, basically. And I was probably there with them maybe 10 to 15 minutes, and they wouldn't take me to the hospital until my sister-in-law decided to tell him, hey, let's go to the hospital. He's not like this. Let's act, right? And in that process, interestingly enough, I found one of the paramedics was very similar to a person that I was having problems with, personal problems with, a person that I felt that wanted to hurt us, in a sense. You know, I felt threatened by this person, and this guy was kind of like the clone, okay? And that freaked me out a little bit more. After that, and when they took me, right, I remember, you know, purging from my mouth things that I had in my heart that I didn't really like, you know, Chavez, for example. I kind of like, I have vague memories about it.
Or the Chavez-like people.
Huh?
Or the Chavez-like people.
Correct. And in this, I would say, purification process, right, of connecting with our Creator, I saw myself inside the ambulance, and I saw this guy again, and I started mocking him, and his solution was to hit me. He actually broke my tympanic membrane, so I'm actually recovering after, like, it takes like 8 to 10 weeks. With that hit, he broke my tympanic membrane. I remember the pain and saying, it hurts, and then after that, I went to another perspective. I would say that this was the first part of the process, acknowledging my humanity and my weaknesses and my imperfections, right? And then there was another process in which, if you want to see it from a clinical perspective, or even from a hallucinogenic perspective, they call it DMT, right? And I've been learning about this after I saw what happened to me. It's very similar to either indigenous people that do ayahuasca, or this is something that we have within our systems, and without the enzymes to control the DMT, then you start hallucinating even more. Plus what happened to my brain, right? This is the scientific perspective of what happened to me. At that point, they actually gave me something called ketamines, which is also a hallucinogenic.
It's a horse tranquilizer, no?
It's
ketamine?
So yeah, something like that. And it was supposed to calm me down. And at that point, I looked at my life backwards, like a huge Rubik's Cube, looking at all of my main problems, all of my maybe insecurities or traumas or things that had happened to me. And I'm telling you, I've had a very healthy life and a very loving relationship with my family. But you know, I went through all this process, and I saw my life backwards. And I think a lot of people say that they see their life flash before their eyes. And I'm not sure how long it was. It was probably like from the ambulance to the hospital, it was like 10 minutes. So it was probably like 10 minutes, but it felt like my whole life, like a lifetime going backwards and solving things and understanding and finding a sense of purpose. And in that, you know, I would say probably process of internally fixing things. So it was probably God helping me heal. You know, I understood that I was chosen by God, and we're all chosen by God to fulfill our potential.
So we're not here by mistake.
No.
And you weren't returned by a glitch in the Matrix.
No, not at all. Even though I do believe that we are, you know, it's not a simulation, but we are experiencing life from our human view, and it needs to transcend a little bit more. At that point, when I still have memories of it, and it was until I was probably 3 or 4 years old, these untapped memories. Then I felt that, you know, God was telling me that that it's okay. I actually live in a. We used to live in a building called Paraíso. And I remember saying, "Oh, Paraíso, Paraíso, are you sending me to paradise? I mean, I'm 32. Really? Am I? Is this the way to go?" But there was a point where I was probably negating of me leaving this world, but there was a point of total surrender, and that's what happened.
How did you feel right after you totally surrendered?
Well, like I'm telling you, I remember a lot of like the voice of God, and it's not something that you hear; it's something that you feel. Like it's a very strong feeling, right? I remember the voice of God. I remember letting go, and God telling me that, expressing me with His heart how much He loved me, and feeling that huge,
Powerful.
immense, infinite love that God felt for me. And it's just a message that He deeply cares for all the 8 billion people individually, and He knows.
He cares for you too. Yes, you. I'm speaking to you.
He cares for each one of us, and He sees us as an individual of unique potential, and He wants us to be happy, and He wants us not to worry, and He wants us to walk by faith, which means living the present moment, right? Not worrying about the past or the future. And then after that point of surrendering, and then I talked about it with my wife, right? But I remember total peace, a sense of relief, a sense of no more pain, a sense of tranquility. I remember it's like when you do this exercise. Have you ever done this activity when you let go and people catch you? It was very, very similar to that. I was covered in like the most luxurious linen, probably, or I was being
Did you smell any perfume?
I don't remember. No, I was embraced. I was embraced by this.
Because we can patent that, I'm sure there's some viewers here that could fund us in this project.
I was actually like, I don't know, I was embraced by the softest pillows. I felt like the wings of angels were protecting me.
Was this in full bright color, or was
for me to transition? It was all white.
All white?
It was all white, but probably when you look at the sun, when you look at the sun, it's like an all white, but you know that all the colors are there, right?
Right.
So it was kind of like that feeling, and that was probably like 30 seconds, probably. And then I woke up and I was in the hospital. I had oxygen on me. They were trying to keep me alive. What the doctor said is that I had I don't remember how it's called when your heart rate is not very stable. So tachycardia, right? I had tachycardia, and this could lead to like a cardiac arrest. There was a point where I actually saw the graph, the EKG graph, and there was a point where it was almost flatlining. And then I woke up and I saw myself outside of my body a little bit, like out here. Saw myself with the oxygen. I was looking at 2 plants. It's very weird because when you go through a process like this, when I went through this process, I had multiple lines of thoughts. Right now I don't have that, but I had multiple lines of thoughts.
Your consciousness is like more efficient. You could see several layers at once.
Correct. And I was able to see myself from the outside and see the ceiling and take a look at the ceiling at the same time, which was very strange. Obviously I was looking upwards. And then when I regained my consciousness, I started saying, what am I doing at Clínica San Pablo? What am I doing at Clínica San Pablo? This is in Spanish. ¿Qué estoy haciendo en la Clínica San Pablo? This is the private hospital that I was born back in Venezuela.
Wow.
Where all my siblings were born, and I'm telling you, the ceiling looked exactly the same. It was like an 80s ceiling.
Going back to square one.
Yeah. So I'm like, what's going on? Where am I? Why am I here? and then I went through another experience where they had to do an MRI, like scan my brain and see what happened. That's where they actually determined I had the inflammation of the brain.
Meningitis.
No, the other thing,
Encephalitis.
encephalitis, right? When I went through the MRI, that was very strange. Like I'm telling you about the glitch of the matrix and all these things. Obviously, there's all these codes happening, right? The DNA code, all of these things it's like a reality of how we can interpret the world, but what lies beneath is molecules, atoms, quarks, all of these things from the micro and on the macro level too. I had a very strange relationship with numbers when I was going through this process and the importance of numbers, right? I was turning 33, right, which is an interesting age. It's actually obviously the age where Christ was sacrificed, and that was very interesting to me. Then I saw a life of a lot of saints, like Saint Augustine. He had a very deep illumination when he was turning 33. So this is not something that is too uncommon. It might happen, but it was also the age where my dad had me. So my dad became a father for the first time. Not 33, 32 and 17 days before turning 33, and this thing happened when I was 32. 17 days before turning 33.
There you go. But,
Which I don't know what it means.
But it's not a simulation, okay? Go figure.
And then one of the things that happened is I was born in 88, and I saw an 8 go sideways, right? I saw infinity, and I understood that everything that we have in terms of knowledge, right? Scientific knowledge, theology, philosophy, mathematics, everything that we have in terms of our knowledge, literature, is just a mere reflection of that infinity. We try to move towards it, right? Finding total and absolute truth, which is, for us human beings, it's almost impossible or close to impossible. We're not going to be able to understand once we transcend this life. But I understood that I was always trying to seek answers in which faith and reason merged together totally, right? And I was trying to seek these answers because there has to be a way that we can have our faith, right? Understand our faith with certainty that science also backs it up. And
however, when you get to an advanced level, vibratory level, it kind of transcends the mind, because the mind stays behind. It's very limited. The mind wants to know the A, B, C of things, and you can, but you're not actually there yet, so you can't go to higher portals through your mind.
So I understood it more from a universal view, right? And well, when this MRI happened, I saw like some coding. It was strange, but some certain types of codes, and then I transcended to the galaxy.
Speaking of codes and galaxy, what is 555 for you? Like 555? Just.
I saw the number 5 multiple times.
Yeah. I just letting you know, because I'm big into numbers too. And like 12 days ago, which is like a holy number, it's a Catholic number. There's like 12 apostles and 12 months of the year and all this. 12 days ago was actually 50,555 days old. It's 12 days ago. So, like, I'm also playing with this like reality of numbers. Like,
well, there's the math and the numbers play. The numbers, all that we understand, like gravity and all these things. There's a number. There's a mathematical equation behind it, right? And we know that Einstein and all of these scientists and Stephen Hawking, that were trying to find the theory of everything, right?
Let's leave it at that for now, because I know you gotta go and you are interested. So next chapter, we're going to look at this from a different perspective, and we're going to start with the theory of everything. This is Domingo, by the way. for the grace of God, he's still here with us, and we're going to learn a lot more with this guy. And he's going to take us in some singing journeys, and he might take us on a trip to Spain, but that comes later. Guys, we love you. We're going to put this on his YouTube channel and mine. Comment, do whatever you like, but whatever you do, be present. This is all you've got, and it's pretty fucking precious. This is Domingo.
Thank you, guys.
Domingo, leave him with a message.
Live the present moment. Enjoy. You are a creation of God, and you're not here by chance. You're here with a purpose, and live with purpose.
Believe it, and it is true already. See ya.